The Washington Commanders have made the decision to move on from Ron Rivera. As many questions are swirling around the organization, the Commanders have decided to enlist some help, but in the form of basketball. Hey y'all, I'm Zakira Majid, and you already know the deal. This is Point of View. I thought we could use some female energy in the sports room. I even brought one of my own houseplants from home to make myself right at home here. As always, we appreciate your feedback and receiving comments like this one. And as usual, stay tuned to the end of this video to see if you can answer today's trivia question. But to today's topic, who should the Commanders hire as head coach and take with the number 2 pick? I'll give my answer later here, but Ron Rivera is out after 4 years in the nation's capital, and new owner Josh Harris had this to say about the decision.
We've decided to part ways with Ron Rivera. We appreciate Ron's efforts and everything he did for the franchise. I mean, obviously he came here during a tumultuous time period, the ownership change, and he really added leadership. But clearly, we weren't good enough this year. We didn't get it done on the field, and so we've decided to go into a new direction. And I think, as you probably heard, I'm going to be leading that search, both for a head of football operations as well as a head coach. And I'm going to be assisted by my partners, Irvin Magic Johnson, Mitch Rails, and David Blitzer, as well as a couple very well-known sports executives, Bob Myers, who I've known for many years and have a tremendous amount of respect for, and Rick Spielman, who obviously is a 30-year football executive of the year, obviously 10 years with the Vikings. Obviously Bob Myers built one of the amazing sports teams of the last decade in the Golden State Warriors. And he was a sports agent, so he knows everyone in sports. He knows a lot of agents. Many agents, as you know, cross sports, not all, but some. A lot of the agents, he's run, multiple processes to select talent. He knows how to engage with talent. And then obviously the Golden State Warriors' success speaks for itself. They started off as a franchise that was struggling a bit, and they've emerged as, 4-time NBA champions. And he's been able to keep a collection of stars there together for a long period of time. So, look, like I said at the beginning, I think he's gonna be super helpful.
So joining Harris and a few Commanders limited partners, including former NBA star Magic Johnson, are Bob Myers and former Vikings GM Rick Spielman. Now, you cannot argue with Bob Myers' success. He's a 2-time Executive of the Year, as well as a 4-time champion as an executive. Except for one thing. He did this in the NBA. And okay, he knows agents and knows how to keep a collection of talents together for a long period of time. But how does that help you identify a GM and head coach? Harris even admitted to never seeking assistance from an outside sport. Now, as for Rick Spielman, he has experience as an NFL GM, but he spent as many seasons under 500 as over in Minnesota and has a career 136 to 135 record as an NFL executive. And these are 2 of the important pieces moving forward that will have to make key decisions, like who is going to be the team's quarterback going forward. But hey, Spielman did sign Kirk Cousins away from Washington. Maybe we'll have a reunion in D.C.? I believe I can speak for all the Commanders fans out there, but please no. Now, it's not all doom and gloom for the Commanders, as Ron Rivera doesn't depart with a completely bare cupboard. In perfect symmetry, he leaves them with the number 2 pick, as when he was hired because he inherited the number 2 pick. More importantly, Washington does have the most cap space projected for next year, as well as the top 5 for the few years following. Now, those numbers can easily change with signing of free agents, either their own like Kendall Fuller and Antonio Gibson, or overpaying for other teams as free agents. But that's definitely a way to return to contention quickly. So they have a plethora of assets available, but those decisions must be made correctly as opposed to Washington's recent history. The last time they had the number 2 pick, they drafted Chase Young, who they recently shipped off for a 3rd-round pick instead of handing a long-term contract to. By drafting Young, they did pass on Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, Jordan Love, and Jalen Hurts. Now, is that revisionist history? Sure. But the only QB drafted during the Rivera era was Howell in the 5th round, in what possibly may be the weakest quarterback draft in quite a while. Now, Howell has played admirably, but he is definitely not the guy Washington should focus on going forward. But what do I think the Commanders should do? Staying with the theme of symmetry, Sam Howell passed the torch at UNC to Drake Maye. So I think it would be perfect if Drake Maye took over for Howell once again. Now for the head coach, the last time Washington had back-to-back winning seasons was under Jay Gruden. The last time the team won the division in consecutive seasons was with Joe Gibbs. Now, what do these two have in common? They were offensive coordinators before becoming a head coach, and that is exactly where I think the Commanders should look. Now, they could stay in-house and go with Eric Bieniemy, but he will be a popular choice around the league. But I think they should look to a team that has similar offensive skill positions. The Commanders have a question at quarterback, but do have a super talented wide receiver, a couple of capable running backs, and a tight end that can be serviceable when called upon. A team that has a similar structure is the Detroit Lions. Now, I'm not comparing Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery to Robinson and Gibson, nor am I saying Logan Thomas is just as good as Sam Laporta. But I am saying that Washington has some similar weapons, which is why Ben Johnson could be a perfect fit for Washington, and he could handpick his own QB to start. Which again, to play off the theme of symmetry, both Ben Johnson and Drake Maye are former Tar Heels from North Carolina. To hear more about why Drake Maye is the 2nd best QB in the draft, check out our recent Point of View here. And finally, here's the answer to today's trivia question. Did you get it? I'm Zakira Majid, and you've been watching Point of View.